Hey everyone, welcome to another $1,000 strap search. I've got my $1,000 in singles here and I'm about to show you what I found. But before I do, let's talk about this week's tip. Now there's a lot of different places you can go to buy notes that you wouldn't even think about, such as pawn shops. Normally pawn shops don't carry currency or don't carry coins. They may carry silver, but they don't consider themselves experts in the field, so a lot of times they will tend to push off people with currency or coins to actual local coin shops. But on occasion, you can run into stuff. Now, the thing to consider though is if you are a seller, if you are looking to sell your stuff to a pawn shop, the pawn shop didn't wake up in the morning going, gee, I hope this walks through the door today. They basically said, hopefully something will come in that we can resell for a profit. So don't be surprised if you get a lowball offer. That's just kind of the way it works. Remember, you're the one that needs the money. On the other hand, if you are a buyer and you go into a pawn shop, understand that there's probably a little wiggle room, and don't be afraid to ask. The other thing, though, is they aren't necessarily experts, which means they may have an idea of what something is, but it does lend to a great cherry picking potential. And you're going to see that a little later. All right, so here's my 1,000 on singles. Let's get these out of the way and see what I found this week. Starting off with a Where's George. Where's George? You don't even need a stamp. You can write Where's George on it and log it that way. That counts. That's a Where's George note. I will log this and see where it's been. Got another Where's George note with a stamp that I'm used to seeing. Also happens to be a trinary, 1s, 5s, and 9s. Another Where's George note. This person stamped it Where's George, and they took a marker just to make sure you're going to notice it. So there's that one. Another Where's George note that's got this kind of circle thing, as well as the marks on the side. So I will log all those. This is a reverse birthday note here. 1968, either November 6th or June 11th, but yeah, not in the right order. The thing is, I found consecutive notes. Still 1968. This one would be either November 5th or May 11th. Once again, I don't see any value in these. Even if this was my birth date, I'd think it was neat, but it's not the order that I would be looking. I want the year at the end. Found an alternator. This one has 0 as the alternator, 30908010. And this one has 4 as the alternator, 04249434. Once again, no additional value there. I think they're neat. I wouldn't ever buy any. I wouldn't ever sell any. Unless, of course, someone says they're worth $100. Then you can have every one I can find for $50 a piece. But no, there's no value in these. I'm not buying or selling these. Then we get some trinaries. This is 6s, 8s, and 9s. 4s, 6s, and 9s. Once again, no additional value. I collect them because I'm trying to match serial numbers, not because I'm trying to sell anything. 0s, 1s, and 6s. 0s, 5s, and 7s. 2s, 3s, and 5s. 1s, 2s, and 7s. I mean, come on. How can these possibly be worth anything when you're finding this many of them? Here's quad 1s. I save quads for the same reason, not because there's any value in them, but because I'm trying to match serial numbers. It's always fun to enjoy your hobby. You don't have to try to make money off of every single thing. Here's quad 2s, quad 6s, and this is actually 5 5s with a 6th. So 6 of a kind on this one. You want 7 of a kind for it to be worth anything. At the very least, you want 6 in a row, and maybe it's worth something at that point. Then I've got my stars. Always check to see if your stars are filled. These are not. It's a 2017, 2017, 2017, 2013, and then some older notes. 2003A, rough shape, 2003A. Remember, I pull these just to give you an idea of how many of these remain out of every 1,000 that's out there. Most of these go back in circulation. This one's a little nicer, so I'll probably keep this 2003A. This one's also pretty good for a 2003A. That one's kind of rough. Another rough one. 2003, also pretty rough. Another rough 2003, another rough 2003. This one's much better. 1999, I know that because of the signature, not because I can actually read anything on it. No, that's not an error. That's just dirt. And the oldest note I found was a 1993, and nope, I can see it's got a location here. So it was not a web note. All right, so what did I pull this week? Well, a friend of mine said the pawn shop by his house had some currency, so I decided to go check it out. And I had to make a purchase. This is what I got. I got a $10 national banknote. This is from the First National Bank of Grand Forks, North Dakota. That's pretty cool. You can see here series of 1902. So this is out of the third charter period. The first charter period starts 1865-ish. The second charter period is 1882, and the third charter period would be 1902. Third charter period, things you're looking for. This here is the serial number of the note as it was printed at the Fed. And down here is the serial number from this particular bank. That's why these two numbers here are different. When you look here, this is the charter number for that particular bank. And based on it being a fairly low number, lets you know that this bank's been in existence for a while. So with a number like that, you probably have a chance of finding stuff from the first charter period. So they've got the charter number here and here. This particular one is Elliott and White, and then it has the signers of the actual bank on there as well. You can see here, North Dakota, this one actually says September 12th, 1921, because the first charter period, or each charter period, I should say, spanned 20 years. So even though it says series of 1902, they were putting out this series as late as 1922. This one here, September 1921. Yep, it's a third charter, and just barely at that. Looking at the back, you can see the detail. Overall, the note's in pretty good condition, and I want to show this because that's the price that was on it, $129.99, and that's kind of important. But ignore the sticker for now. We'll just check the actual grade of this. You can see it's got dirt, and you can see it's got some folds and stuff, but overall, it's not really that bad. I would say this is probably a 15. If it wasn't so dirty, maybe a 20. 15 for sure, right? Anyway, this particular note is, it's in pretty good shape, and it came in this case. It's got this really thick case. These cases are probably $8, $10, $12 or so. So that alone was pretty cool. But I knew that the pawn shop probably didn't really know what the value on this was. So let's take a peek. I'm going to pull out Paper Money of the United States. This book, you guys know this book. And if I open it up, here is the third charter period $10 notes. Look familiar? Yes. Okay, and mine was, what did I say it was? Elliott and, let's look. Elliott and White. So here's Elliott and White, right? Yep, 634, that's the number. And you can see in a VG8, it's $145. In a 12, it's $165, and in a 20, it's $250. I'd say mine is between that $165 and $250 without a problem. The thing is that when it comes to nationals, the further west you go and the smaller the town, the more these are worth. Now, North Dakota is not known for being a highly populous area. And if we check the bottom here, let's find North Dakota. Right here, North Dakota. There were 160 banks that issued, and in a fine, it says 175. So if we look up here, here's fine 12. This lists it at 165, so it would actually be 175. So you're talking about $10 more than what the price is. So that would put this at about 260, maybe a little more, about 270, 275, somewhere in that range. But once again, this is just a vague notion because it says there are 160 different banks. What if we had a book that went into a little bit more detail? Like National Banknote 6th edition by Don Kelly. Let's see what we got here. Remember, we're looking at the charter number of 2570. And make sure I get the right one here. We're talking the First National Bank of Grand Forks. Okay. 2564. No, that's not it. We want we want this that I can't get in the picture. There we go. 2570. Citizens National Bank of Grand Forks. 2570. 2570. That's it. Now, based on this, we can see that the bank was organized September 12th, 1881. Let's see. The second title is the First National Banks of Grand Forks as of June 25th, 1890, and it had a third title, the First National Bank of Grand Forks. Or I should say they dropped the. And if I look here, let's see. This one says the First National Bank. Okay. So it is the second name. Not that that matters. Yeah. But that does actually apply, because you can see 628, that's 1929, and we already figured this one to be 1921. So all of that makes sense. We are looking at, where to go? Here we go. 1902 plain back, because that's what I'm holding. 1902, series of 1902. If we look at the back, it's a plain back. It doesn't have a date or anything else on there. And that, where is it? Right here, 1902 plain back. When they made these, there were 3 10s and a 20 on each sheet. You can see the total number of notes printed. That's the serial numbers that were used for those. And this number here is the price in a grade 20 for this particular note. That's $350. Remember, $350 in a 20. This book said $250 in a 20 with a slight notation that you could bump it up $10 or so. But it was priced as if it was a VG8 at $145, and their final price on it was $129. So yeah, if this does come out to be a 20, then we're talking a $350 note that I got from a pawn shop for $129. Now, I don't want to think what they actually paid for the note. I know what I paid for it, and I am happy. So that's what I've got this week. If you learned anything new, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading all your comments. Guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.